Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to today's Latvia&Ukraine IT Business Forum. My name is Philip Stahlbergs and I'm head of Export Promotion Division at the Investment and Development Agency of Latvia, and I'm really pleased to moderate this event. Today, we organize this online forum to strengthen cooperation in IT area, business, education, R&D, and develop business and cooperation contacts between Latvia and Ukraine. This event is organized in cooperation with Kharkiv IT Cluster, and we are thankful for their help and assistance. Please note that this forum and also presentations will be recorded and available on LIA YouTube channel. And if you have any questions during the presentations, please write them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. I will bring them also up during the presentation, and we will also have some time for questions at the end. The forum program includes presentations by the Investments and Development Agency of Latvia and Kharkiv IT Cluster. So let's start, and I'm glad to welcome our first speaker, my colleague, Taras Leochko from Investment Promotion Division, who will present the IT sector and business opportunities in Latvia. Taras, your virtual stage is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Philip. I hope you can hear me clearly and also can see me. Welcome all participants. I'm glad to share the presentation about our agency, our country, and about ICT industry in Latvia. Hopefully it will bring up some ideas in your mind on how we could cooperate together and how you could grow and expand your business with some partners in Latvia. So as Philip mentioned, I will give a brief presentation, and later on at the end, we can have a Q&A session. And I will be glad to answer your questions. In case if we won't have enough time, you're always welcome to contact us, and you will see contacts at the end. So once again, my name is Taras. As you might understand, I have some Ukrainian roots. Indeed, my father is from Ukraine, but I was born and raised in Latvia. I'm a senior investment advisor in the Investment Development Agency of Latvia and the Investment Promotion Division. So in order to start our presentation, first I would like to say that our organization is actually quite big. We have around 300 employees in total and around 20 representative offices around the world. And finally, we have reopened an office in Kyiv as well this year. So in general, we have 4 departments at the Investment Development Agency of Latvia. I'm working at the investment department and dealing mostly with big companies, but also we have a trade department, innovation department that includes also startup office and also tourism department. So those companies that are medium or large size, usually my colleagues and me are dealing with them and helping them to enter Latvia or find partners in Latvia. And then if you're a startup, then usually innovation department in our startup division will help you out with questions related to startup. So our agency, as most government agencies around the world, help foreign companies to enter the country, to enter Latvia, to assist with different kind of information, to find the perfect location, also provide information on business incentives that companies could use, identify some partners or do some matchmaking with universities and help out to find the reliable source of information, and also service providers like legal advisors or consultants that are based in Latvia. Briefly about our team. So Deputy Director is Reinis, our Director of the Investment Department is Dirts, and my head of my division is Toms, and finally me as the senior investment advisor, Taras. I'm responsible for business service and ICT industries. We have plenty of successful FDI cases that were assisted by LIA, by Investment Development Agency of Latvia. It has kind of a broad, in sense of the industry, it's quite broad. You can see that there's retail, there's IT, manufacturing, even IKEA. But today we'll speak more about the ICT. So I will move on to the next section, and it will be more about Latvia. I'm sure that most of you know something about Latvia or maybe have been to Latvia. So probably I will skip those well-known facts and focus on those things that are more important and interesting for you. So yeah, the concept of equal treatment of foreign investors is very important for us. Basically, it means that all foreign investors that are setting up their business here in Latvia will have the same rights and obligations as local companies. So you can own property, you can register a company within 1 to 3 days, you can actively participate in the communities, you can access with our assistance some government officials. So in general, you will have the same opportunities as local business. And this is very important for us because that is what attracts foreign investors and foreign companies that are especially based outside of the EU. Probably you know Riga, the capital of Latvia. What I would like to stress that actually Riga city is the third largest city in the Northern Europe. So currently in the metro area, there are a bit less than 700 people living, but with all the satellite towns in the Riga planning region totals around 1.1 million people. So basically considering that the Latvia's population is around 2 million people, so half of the population is concentrated within or around Riga. It's also a great opportunity for companies because you won't find any big city around the Northern Europe like Riga. Moreover, half of the population of Riga are minorities who are basically speaking Russian language. That's why for companies that are based on the east or from CIS countries or regions, they really value this opportunity of being based in Riga. Also in Riga, we have the main airport. It means that we have superior connectivity. Around half of the passengers are going through Riga airport if we look at the Baltics in general. And during the pre-pandemic time, we had more than 100 direct flights from Riga. Also this month, actually last month in November, the construction of high-speed railway, Rail Baltica, has started. Basically, it will connect all Baltic countries with Poland, and it will be easy to travel between the West Europe and the Northern Europe. A little bit about our strategy, the strategy of our government. So currently our focus is kind of a smart industry, smart sectors, and we have identified 6 of them. These are biomedicine, bioeconomy, smart energy, smart materials and photonics, smart cities, and of course, ICT. So all business incentives and long-term strategies based on building up ecosystems that provide high value added. And basically all European programs right now are concentrated around innovations and upskilling and reskilling of workforce. So when we did the inventory of all incentives that we have in Latvia, then actually we came up with the result that we have around 40 different kind of incentives. You can see that they are divided in 5 big groups. So first 4 were available before, and then the last one was related to COVID-19. So there are 4 programs related to idea development, 24 related to business and innovations that probably will be most relevant to you. We have different kind of business incubators, innovation vouchers for prototyping and designing your new product, different kind of cluster programs, educational and training programs as well. As soon as you will set up your company here in Latvia, you can also expect some support and co-financing for exporting your services and products. For example, when the exhibitions will resume, you'll be able to get some financing for participating in exhibitions. Also, we have special economic zones with some tax rebates. And finally, there were some programs for local companies due to COVID-19 pandemic. So there was some kind of co-financing of salaries and some guarantees for companies to overcome this stressful time. What companies value when they come to Latvia and Riga are actually these factors, is that we have a perfect balance of cost and quality. Our salaries are still quite low compared to the Western Europe, but they're slightly growing recently. Also, we're very multilingual. Basically, everybody knows at least one foreign language, either English or Russian, and more than half of the population speaks 3 languages. It is Latvian, English, and usually Russian or other European language like German, maybe French. We're well educated, and what is also important, the business ethics and the culture is more of a Nordic style, and that's why most of the investors in business services and IT actually comes from Scandinavia and northern countries. A snapshot of ICT industry, just to give you a taste or a flavor of what we're doing here. So currently we have around 37,000 ICT specialists. We're expecting an update of market data this month. So we'll see what was the growth for the last year. Almost 4 billion turnover of these companies that generated around 1.3 of value added in euros. And we're also export oriented. So basically 50% of all products and services in ICT is exported. Probably, you know, all those big names like Accenture, Cognizant, Microsoft, Oracle, also Evolution Gaming, and plenty of other Scandinavian companies like Tietoevry, Visma, and Atea. They're in Latvia for a long time. Some companies are actually for decades here. They started in the 90s and they were growing. And actually, if we talk about business service industry, then on average during the last few years, the growth of new workplaces was around 10% per year. So also 89% of all those companies are planning to expand. So they really appreciate the environment and they see the potential. Also, we have strong telco and hardware companies. Maybe you've heard of Mikrotik, who was specializing and still specializing in routers. They're exporting a lot to other countries worldwide. LMT is not a telco company, but actually they're moving to IoT and drones and other smart city solutions that could be used through 5G networks. DATS is also quite famous in CIS region because they provide different kind of infrastructure and data centers and servers for companies that are based in different countries, both in Europe and outside of the European Union. Moving on to the ICT community, it is indeed quite strong. We have a number of associations, and I would like to stress the Latvian IT Cluster and Latvian ICT Association. Basically, they are dealing with communicating all the needs of the industry to all the stakeholders, including government officials, universities. Also, we have an association, Litera, that is more about electronics and engineering, and Microsoft Innovation Center, that was basically the first innovation center by Microsoft in Northern Europe that was established in 2017. Another important thing is not the virtual community, but the physical community. And in Riga, we have so-called Refresh initiative that is aiming to unite smart city and innovation companies that are based in one place. Maybe those of you who are a bit older and are familiar with WEF electronics, back in the days during Soviet times, they were pretty famous because of the audio system and different kind of electronics that was exported to various countries around Soviet Union. So on the place of that factory in Riga now, there are a lot of ICT companies. Basically 40% of all export is coming from that area. And what is important, the Riga City Council, together with the Ministry of Economics, real estate developers, and such companies as Accenture, L&T, they agreed to develop this kind of sandbox community and physical environment in order to test different kind of solutions. And more companies are coming there because also office space is expanding there, and it's kind of a concentration of ICT key players in Riga, in Latvia, and I would say in Baltics in general. Office space availability is also important for medium and large size ICT companies. And what we would like to stress is that our rent rates at the moment are lowest in the Baltics. So if we compare all the capitals in the Baltics, and the vacancy rate is pretty high in Riga, as you can see, 30% for A-class office space. But this is because the new project, huge project, Z Towers, was commissioned recently. That's why it is 30% for A-class, but on average like 20%, of course, due to pandemic. And what is more important, that actually developers are quite optimistic, and the pipeline for new developments is pretty huge. So we expect that by 2023, we'll have around 170,000 square meters of new office space in Riga. Very nice projects, including first building that will be constructed from wood, the Pine project, 50,000 square meters. So we have plenty of space for you if you decide to open a new office in Riga. Another important factor is, of course, education. And we would like to stress that government is aware that there is a demand for ICT specialists, and they're already working on different kind of incentives and improving ICT education, especially higher education in Latvia. Currently, we have 97 programs, around 20K STEM students. That is around 25% of all students at the moment. In total, there are 9K students, including those who are studying in colleges and technical schools. So the total amount of ICT graduates is not a lot still. It's 1,200 graduates in total. But our aim and the goal of the government is actually to have at least 3K graduates in ICT programs annually, because this is what the market is expecting at the moment. And to prove that there is some progress, actually last year, a new bachelor program was established together with the University at Buffalo, that is in the US, and together with BI Norwegian Business School from Norway. It's basically a new type of bachelor program that is based on the best practices of the US ICT education, and is meant for IT leaders, basically. So there is some progress, and we expect that there will be even more in the upcoming years. What I also would like to mention today, and what could be relevant for smaller companies or those who are thinking of some kind of spin-offs or kind of relocate or expand their team in Latvia, are startups. And this division that we also have here at LIAS, Startup Latvia, is working hard recently, because we see that there are more and more applications coming from Belarus, from Russia. Also, we have at least 3 applications from Ukraine. I know at least 2 startups are here in Latvia, and they're developing their idea. So the main benefit of startup in Latvia is that we have a special startup law, and actually founders can get a so-called startup visa. Up to 5 founders, together with their family members, can get basically a residence permit to move to Latvia and to develop their idea for up to 3 years. There are also special startup benefits. It's either 45% of co-financing of qualified employees of their salaries, or you can choose to have a flat social tax and do not pay personal income tax. What is important to mention that this year the legislation was relieved, so it's a bit easier to get these benefits, because in order to qualify before, there were some kind of, at least I think 7 requirements, and now it was shrinked to only 3. So it will be way much easier to get these benefits than compared to what was before. Our startup community is obviously growing. We have 15 business incubators, different kind of associations, also business angels, lots of co-working space. I mentioned about A-class office space, but actually we have around 1,500 co-working stations at the moment. And like 2 years ago, it was half of that. So it is indeed expanding and demand is growing. Of course, as soon as you will set up the startup in Latvia and Riga, you will have a European company. It means that you can also access all those 40 incentives that I have mentioned in the beginning of the presentation. That includes different kind of innovation vouchers up to 25,000 euros for developing your product or designing your prototype, or co-financing for exploring the globe or going to the exhibitions later on. But if you will have some other questions, I would recommend you to check our page, startuplatvia.eu, and you will find a lot of information over there. Of course, business is very important, but I also would like to stress why people are choosing to move or set up their business in Latvia, because it's not only about business itself, but also about living conditions here in the European Union. So what we have seen and what some HR companies are projecting for next year is that actually for business, it's good that the salary growth in ICT in Latvia will be lowest in Baltics. So we're not overheating compared to Lithuania, for example, because in Vilnius, in Kaunas, there are a lot of new ICT companies that are fighting for the talent, and that makes the market too hot and salaries going up. Estonia is more or less stable, and Latvia has a more sustainable development pattern at the moment. What I also would like to mention that the gross income is sufficient for having a good life here in Riga. So the average monthly expenses, as we have calculated, and we have used the data from a recruitment agency for a single person, including rent, is around 1,230 euros. This is actually matching the average gross salary in Riga, but actually the average gross salary for ICT specialist is around 2K euros per month. So you can have a very nice living and save some money if you are in Riga. If you go to other cities in Latvia, the living expenses might go a bit less, be lower. So this is also important to consider for business. The housing market is pretty available. We have the most available housing market in the Baltics as well, because the price is not that high, so you don't need to spend too much time on saving for your mortgage. So as you can see here, the average price, transaction price per square meter is lowest in Baltics, in Baltic capitals, around 1,700 euros per square meter for new project in Riga. Of course, business is important, but as I said, nature, green environment, sea that is available within 30 minutes drive from the Riga city center is also a big part of life. So people really appreciate that opportunity. And I think those who are coming here also from big cities that are too crowded, too polluted, enjoy the benefits of living in Latvia in smaller towns or in cities like Riga. Very different kind of cuisine, and we have seen recently, because especially Riga is a very diverse city. There are more and more nationalities, including different kind of students are coming in from different countries, so they bring their culture, and it's also very important for us to stay cosmopolitan and available for different kind of nationalities. Yeah, Riga is still developing. As I mentioned, Rail Baltica has started, and the construction of the central railway station is on its way. So it will transform. It is a beautiful city, but there are plenty of other towns and cities in Latvia that you can obviously visit and live because of the remote work. It actually doesn't matter where you're based. So if you will have some more questions, I would definitely recommend to check our web pages, investinlatvia.org and startuplatvia.eu. We have business guide, both in Russian and English language. We'll have also a special brochure for transferring business that was meant to share it with Belarus companies, but actually it's kind of a general information that is relevant to any kind of company. And finally, we also finished our Latvian startup guide that is available. Maybe it's not published at the website, but if you will contact us, I guess my colleagues or me could share that startup guide, where you'll have a lot of information about setting up the startup, about the community, all the service providers, cost of living, and much more. I think that's it from my side. I hope you have learned a lot of new things and you already have some ideas about potential opportunities. So as we have mentioned, if you will have some questions, we can get back to them a bit later during the Q&A session. So you can also contact us through investinlatvia.org. You will find also a contact section over there. So I believe that's it from my side. I will give the floor to my colleague Philip, and also will invite Olga to share information about Kharkiv cluster. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Taras, for your presentation. I hope that you all enjoyed this presentation. And as Taras mentioned, if you have some questions regarding what Taras spoke, please leave your question or ask the question in Q&A section. But our next speaker is Olga Shapoval. She is Executive Director of Kharkiv IT Cluster, and she will present the IT sector and business opportunities in Ukraine. Olga, please.
Hi everyone. Just a moment. Hi everyone. My name is Olga Shapoval, and I'm Executive Director of NGO Kharkiv IT Cluster. And I'm very happy to be here today and present our country and also IT companies, our members of Kharkiv IT Clusters at this event. And thank you to my colleagues from Latvia for organizing this event, for helping to make in B2B sessions, because it's very important in times of COVID to make this matchmaking between different companies all over the world to help them to make their business more efficient in the time of pandemic. Shortly about who we are, Kharkiv IT Cluster. Kharkiv IT Cluster, it's NGO, as I said, and our mission is to develop environment for the technology business. And we was established 5 years ago by IT companies of Kharkiv region. And now Kharkiv IT Cluster, it's more than 120 of organizations, more than 70 active IT companies. In Kharkiv IT Cluster community, we have 12,000 of IT specialists. It's like third part of IT community of Kharkiv. And also we have almost 50 plus projects implemented in order to develop environment for the technology business. So our main key directions of our activities with our members, IT companies, and also in collaboration with educational institutions like universities, different schools, IT schools, non-formal education, and also public sector, of course. Our main directions are, at first, it's education and human capital development. It's the main part of our activities because human capital is the main fundamental basis for the IT ecosystem and IT industry development. Of course, we pay a lot of attention for the infrastructure, and we have in Ukraine, we have different top ranked cities or like IT cities. And of course, in Kharkiv, we develop this part a lot, and we have many projects in order to develop this comfortable infrastructure for IT companies and also for IT specialists, for living of IT specialists. We have our big direction in the partnership with other clusters and with the IT Ukraine Association. It's like IT Ukraine promotion and Kharkiv IT region promotion and our IT companies promotion, because the main clients for our companies they're abroad. So we are helping our companies to make this connection between their potential clients and maybe potential partners, not only clients, because many projects, they are very big and they need like making something in collaboration with other countries even. Also, we provide in our community with a lot of networking events and different values for our members. And of course, now in the time of pandemic, we changed a lot in our networking, and now we restart to do it. And we hope that this networking is very important, and we hope that in the future it would be much more efficient, and we used to those times of pandemic, and that's why we will just make it more and more efficient one more times. Also, we provide our companies with legal support, and of course we making like advocacy of ICT industry, working with our government, working with our law building and process, and other ministers and Ministry of Digital Transformation, in order to help our public institutions to build a good environment for regular basis, and for their good conditions for their company, for our companies. And this year we started IT for Life projects. It's charity projects. It was focused on the COVID, and we helping a lot our hospitals to prepare to COVID times and build a lot of infrastructure for them this spring, and also we are doing it right now. And we think that it's very important part also of our community work, of our common community work. And this project is also fully funded by IT companies, members of Kharkiv IT Cluster. And if we speak about Ukraine, as we think, we have three historical benefits. First of all, we are top ranked in higher education for engineers. Historically, here in Ukraine and also in Kharkiv, because Kharkiv it's like the capital of technology education in Ukraine, we have very strong production with a lot of engineers. And in Kharkiv, we have 14 universities which prepared IT specialists, and also we have such big universities in Kyiv and in Lviv. And it's very important part for their, and very important basis, as I said, for the IT industry development, because people, it's like the main value for their IT industry. Also, we have like young and entrepreneurial mindset. And for example, Kharkiv is, like we said, student city. We have in Kharkiv 1.5 million people. 400,000 of them are less than 21 years old. That's why our population, like if we speak about whole Ukraine, of course, it's not so great perspective like in whole Europe. We have many people who retired, but in Kharkiv, for example, we have a lot of youth, and in big cities also, like Kyiv and Lviv and Dnipro. But of course, IT industry is not developed like in the same at the same level in all cities of Ukraine. And also in Ukraine, we have like powerful industrial clusters, for example, IT clusters and aircraft industry cluster and automotive clusters. And these public organizations, non-governmental, non-profit organizations, they are just developing this environment for their industries. And it's very important to make it also together in collaboration. And Kharkiv IT Cluster, we are helping also to make those bridges between different industries with the help of our companies. And Kharkiv ranks the first among the regions of Ukraine by the number of IT companies and number of IT specialists. I need to say that in Ukraine in common, we have more than 200,000 of IT specialists. And in Kharkiv, we have 35,000 of IT specialists and more than 500 active IT companies, mainly small and medium-sized. And to 95% services and products of our companies, they're exporting globally, 75% for the US market. We also have the same salary growth as you have in Latvia, 2,000 euro, but in Ukraine, it's like much less average salary for other industries. Unfortunately, we have 370 euro an average salary for non-IT industries, but we have big lack of talented IT specialists, and we it's like very big difference between salaries, but it's not helping us a lot to involve more and more people in IT industry, because we growing 25% annually. Even this year, we're expecting not less than 10% of growth. And it's very important for us to prepare and help in our universities and IT schools to prepare specialists, more and more specialists for IT industry. If we speak about our geography, mainly, as I said, we sell to North America, to United States, and also in Europe, we have something like 19%. Also, we have clients in Asia and Middle East and Australia and Oceania. And this last 2 years, we have the same picture in this. And sometimes our companies making big projects, for example, for their clients from the United States, in the collaboration and partnership with the other countries, because sometimes it's very big projects. Sometimes we need some additional or maybe expertise in some niche. And we are open for partnership, and our companies are open for the partnership with different companies and specialists from different countries. And also in the time of pandemic, remote work is now like just average, something usual for us. That's why it's like very easy to connect different teams from different companies in order to help each other to build really big international projects. And I want to say that Ukrainian IT industry is very multi-vector and creating multi-vector IT solutions. Our main customers going from different spheres. It's like insurance, e-commerce, medicine, healthcare, education and learning, media, advertising, travel, tech, entertainment, game dev, manufacturing and retail and fintech and different other parts and domains. And so we have expertise in all, almost in all spheres. And also you can always find the right partner for some of your projects, and maybe to collaborate in some projects for Latvian business, not only for IT business, but also for your internal customer. Unfortunately, in Ukraine, we have not very developed internal market for their IT solutions, but it is developing right now. And also our city, for example, Kharkiv and Kyiv also, they are going to develop smart city programs. but it's like at the very early stages. That's why we are open also for cooperation in such like big areas. And also many of our companies working in high value added IT solutions. Not only our companies, of course, working from their very simple solutions, for example, like working like outsourcers and working on the model of outstaffing for all over the world. And of course, our companies, like I mentioned, they are creating complex IT solutions for different industries. So we are open for cooperation in this area. And also we have many clients from startups. We have many clients also from Israel and many clients from all over the world. And so like creating competitive advantages for those startups. So we are open for cooperation with startups also. We speak about like mainly we have in our sales structure to North America, of course, it's like IT services from the just simple outsourcing, outstaffing up to complex IT solutions. And only 2% we have like selling to American market IT products, but it's like a statistic for Ukraine, but mainly companies, product companies, they registered their companies, for example, in the United States, near their potential market. That's why it's like this statistics, it's not so clear, but mainly main part of our market is IT services, IT service companies. And if we speak about our European partners and clients, mainly it's United Kingdom, in Germany and Sweden. And we have like a little bit more here for IT products, but not very active now, and our startups and this ecosystem is also at the early stages of development now. If we speak about like growing in Ukraine, unfortunately, we do not have such a fast growing sectors as IT. Only IT grows every year, and the economy in whole also growing, but not so big percent of growth we have. But this year is very hard year for Ukrainian IT economy, but Ukrainian, as I said, Ukrainian IT sector just also we are expecting growth. It's like about 10% this year. We'll see. We are making every year, Kharkiv IT Cluster making big research with the help of different big companies, consulting companies. Last year it was PwC, for example, in order to get new figures and approved figures validated by big provider. Also, if we speak about, for example, comparison between other location, the nearest location for us and the most like common is Poland. And of course, Ukraine now are growing faster than Poland, but we have the main bottleneck for us is the quantity of IT specialists. As I said, we have, for example, in Kharkiv, from our universities, we get something about 3,000 of people every year. And for Kharkiv, it's not enough. And we need, I think, 2.5 times more. And we as a cluster are working on it because IT, as I said, it's not very popular. It is more popular than it was, for example, 2 years ago, but we're still working on marketing to involve more people in IT industry to get our companies also potential for their growth. And if we speak about our IT specialists, mainly it's like men, only 1/3 but it's like women. And if we speak about average age, it's like 30 years old if we speak about in general. And also mainly it's people with higher education. It's educated people in Ukraine. As I said, we have 200,000 of IT specialists in common, and mainly all of them, 95%, they have higher education, and also they have they know 84% of them know, for example, English language at the level like upper intermediate. So that's why also we are growing, but as I said, that we have lack of IT specialists, and we are open for their cooperation and collaboration with all other countries in order to operate on the global market. You can see the logos of our Kharkiv IT Cluster community of our IT companies, and also the most active and the most open for cooperation of them today will to take part in the B2B sessions. We have more than 80 meetings arranged already. So we are open for cooperation in order to develop an IT solutions, IT products, in order to create your clients' competitive advantages together, and maybe work under the new projects also together. And we are open for B2B and community events, maybe matchmaking, networking, and like we have today, but to make it more wider, to maybe ask investors to come to our stages and to see maybe startups from Latvia or from Ukraine to show this area of our activities. And of course, we are open for cooperation in educational area and educational projects. And we have a lot of universities. We have a lot of non-formal education, IT courses. So we are open for cooperation. Please contact us if you have some questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Olga, for your presentation. It was very interesting, new, and useful. And so we now could switch to some questions. And yeah, there is one question to both speakers, and maybe then Taras could start. So maybe could you point out 3 advantages of IT companies in Latvia, and then Olga in Ukraine?
Yeah, I believe actually for foreign companies, it's still important to be in the EU and get the access to the market and all the instruments that are used within the EU. I think this is crucial both for local companies and those foreign ones who are coming into Latvia. The second one is still an excellent balance of quality and costs. For example, if we talk with big companies that are providing services for clients in the US or Scandinavian market, then for them, it's still quite profitable to be here in Latvia. Moreover, they can also bring some employees from the East, again, from the CS and Russian-speaking countries, because you won't find any other capital in the EU with such a large portion of Russian-speaking people. So you will feel like home if you come to some of the cities in Latvia. So it's easier to integrate for IT specialists here. Of course, the ongoing digitalization and constant improvement, including also educational system. And as I mentioned, there are first programs that were built in cooperation with universities, companies like Accenture and Microsoft and Cognizant. So all the stakeholders are getting together and trying to solve this shortage of talent and trying to work on the upskilling of people. So I think these 3 main advantages that can be used both for local and foreign, that can be used by local and foreign companies.
Yes, thank you, Taras. And Please, Olga, what you could say about advantages, and also the question to you, especially regarding universities. What are the main universities in Kharkiv to cooperate with?
Thank you for this question. I think if we speak about three advantages, first of all, it's our people. It's highly educated, a lot of software engineers in Ukraine, yes, 200,000 of people, and it's growing every year. And we have a lot of this like potential educational institutions potential in Ukraine. It's like big fundamental basis. Also, we have like highly expertised IT companies, and it's like a very big market of companies. And that's why we have companies which needed a level of expertise for every niche and every economy demand. And that's why it's like an advantage for the partnership with their IT, with Ukrainian IT companies, and also for the partnership with between different companies from, for example, from Latvia and from Ukraine. And of course, we have very good tax conditions for their IT companies and IT specialists, the best in European Union, and a very low cost living expenses, almost 3 times less than, for example, in Latvia. That's why it's like, in Kharkiv, for example, it's like the most comfortable city in Ukraine. It's like top ranked to last 5 years. So that's why we have such a good potential for development of IT industry. And if we speak about universities, of course, we have top 5 universities in Kharkiv. Among those 14, as I mentioned, it's like Kharkiv Radio-Electronic University, Polytechnical University, also Aircraft University, and Economy University, and our university, Classical University of Karazina. And we have also not only those universities, and we have memorandum as a cluster. We're working with all universities in Kharkiv. For those 5 years, we got memorandums and partnership with all universities from Kharkiv, and not only from Kharkiv now, because we're helping our partners from Poltava and other regions to develop education in their areas also, because they do not have such a big clusters.
Thank you for your answers. Thank you, Olga and Taras, for presentations. Now we could a little bit move on to the B2B session. So I will give some technical details about B2B meetings between Latvia and Ukraine companies. First of all, I'm really happy to announce that we have really more than 70 or even 80 matchmaking sessions during today. So registration for B2B session is closed. B2B sessions will be placed on Google Meet platform. So each session will be around 30 minutes. So you can share screens and leave your digital brochures. So actually, I will not keep you any longer, because I know that there are some B2B sessions starting already at 11. So thank you all for attending, and I hope that you have learned and enjoy this event. So have a nice and productive day and meetings. Thank you and goodbye.